Do you believe in UFOs? In the wake of the Chinese surveillance balloon that was shot down on February 4th, there have been multiple other unidentified flying objects, or UFOs, spotted and shot down above Alaska, Canada, and Michigan. And while we don't know exactly what these high-altitude objects are yet,
I know there have been questions and concerns about this, but there is no indication of aliens or extraterrestrial activity with these recent takedowns.
it's likely that some of these objects are actually weather balloons.
If you're asking yourself why there are suddenly so many unidentified objects flying around, you are not alone.
So why are we only just now noticing all these objects in the sky?
The whole world found out about the Chinese surveillance balloon program after the United States tracked this one balloon moving slowly across the Midwest and then crossing into the waters off South Carolina where it was shot down.
Days after that balloon was shot down, the Pentagon's press secretary, Pat Ryder, revealed that the U.S. already knew about China's balloon program.
We are aware that there have been 4 previous balloons that have gone over U.S. territory. This is what we assess as part of a larger Chinese surveillance balloon program.
So the whole approach towards these high altitude objects and balloons changed after the shoot down of the China surveillance balloon, because the United States was now learning that there was a very serious intelligence threat from this balloon system that the Chinese had developed. When they did that, they adjusted all of their radar systems. So NORAD, what they're now seeing is they're seeing a whole lot of other items that they weren't seeing before, because these items before were too high or they were moving too slow.
I want to be clear. We don't have any evidence that there has been a sudden increase in the number of objects in the sky. We're now just seeing more of them, partially because the steps we've taken to increase our radars.
And now that they've broadened the parameters of what gets detected on radar, they're picking up and shooting down an unprecedented number of high-altitude objects.
What NORAD says is that anything that enters U.S. territorial airspace could potentially be a threat. So they're going to assess everything as it comes across, determine whether it presents an imminent threat. And if it does, then they're going to shoot it down. But if it doesn't, then they're also going to see if it presents a threat to civilians. In this case, those 3 objects presented a threat to civilian aircraft. The altitude in which they were flying over was 20,000 to 40,000 feet, and that's right smack in the middle of where civilian airliners fly.
But the other flying objects shot down are much smaller than the spy balloon. And on February 16th, President Biden said there was nothing to suggest the objects were related to China's balloon program.
That these 3 objects were most likely balloons tied to private companies, recreation or research institutions studying weather or conducting other scientific research.
Weather balloons are pretty common and usually pose no danger to planes.
So if in fact these do turn out to be weather balloons, it's not going to be a surprise, because essentially the world is covered in weather balloons. We don't think about it, but when you turn on to your local newscast to get the weather for your area, all of that information comes from weather balloons. The National Weather Service launches balloons twice a day from 92 locations nationwide. Now imagine that the scale of that around the world, and that's when we find out that there are 900 locations around the world where weather balloons are sent up into the sky twice a day.
According to the National Weather Service, the balloon flights usually last for around 2 hours, rising up to over 100,000 feet, then pop and parachute down. But it's possible some may not pop at that altitude and could drift around.
The question is this something that's going to keep going, or are things going to change?
I've directed my team to come back to me with sharper rules for how we will deal with these unidentified objects moving forward.
The U.S. is on heightened alert for flying objects right now, and the response to these objects has become political fodder.
Since the shoot down of the Chinese surveillance balloon off of South Carolina, this has become a political event. It's become politics and foreign policy, because the Chinese say, no, this was a weather balloon and it flew across the United States by accident. And then they accuse the United States of having their own surveillance program with using balloons, which of course the United States denies.
We do not deploy surveillance balloons over China.
And do we spy over China?
We do not deploy surveillance balloons over China, George.
In the meantime, you have Republicans here in the United States, you have Democrats here in the United States, both saying, why didn't we shoot this balloon down as it was over Alaska when we first detected it? Now you're seeing potentially an overreaction on the opposite side, where now we're seeing anything that's up in the sky that is detected and could be a threat is being shot down. So you're swinging from one way to the other extreme, And it's interesting how this is all going to turn out.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.